Hello everyone and welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about sports and exercise. We're going to be discussing a bunch of different vocabulary, phrases, and collocations that you may need anytime you have a conversation about sports or exercise. Now, sports and exercise are a super important topic, especially in your IELTS test. It's a very common question that you may get asked in the speaking portion. In addition to that, and more importantly, sports is a very common topic to discuss in your everyday life. So, let's get into the video and learn some new phrases and terms. One of the questions that you often hear when talking about sports and exercise is, what is your favorite sport? Of course, there are many options to choose from when answering this question. You could say that your favorite sport is football, or soccer if you're in the United States, or maybe you prefer badminton or baseball. In some cases, there may be a follow-up question to your response. They could say, tell me a little bit about that sport. Some sports are more popular than others internationally. Pretty much everyone has heard of football, but not everyone has heard of ice hockey or cricket. Depending on the international popularity of your favorite sport, be prepared to talk a little bit more and describe the sport that you are fond of, especially if the person you're talking to has never heard of your favorite sport. So, let's take football, for example. When you describe your favorite sport, you should be mentioning some of the important aspects of that sport, such as what is the goal? How do you win? What is the objective of the game? As well as a few of the rules that are important to the play. So, in football, the objective of the game is to kick a ball across a rectangular grass pitch or field. And then you kick it into a large rectangular goal. And that is how you score a point. The sport is played by 11 people per team, and whichever team scores the most goals in a game after 90 minutes in the match wins. In addition to describing some of the rules and objectives of the sport, you can also describe the sport using a variety of adjectives. Does the sport require intelligence to play? Is it a fast sport? Do you need to be strong to play the sport? Or is the sport fun to watch? Or is it even more fun to play? This is just an example of how you can describe a sport, but I would encourage you to spend some time at home practicing how to describe your favorite sport. Another common question that you may receive when you are talking about sports and exercise is, what is your favorite sports team? Or who is your favorite player? Much like the earlier question, there are a lot of responses to choose from. When describing your favorite sports team, there are a few things to keep in mind. First, state the name of the team along with the sport they play, such as, my favorite sports team is the Calgary Flames ice hockey team. Then, after you say your favorite sports team, maybe describe why it is your favorite sports team. You could say that you really enjoy the sports team because of the players or athletes who play on the team. Or perhaps you like the team because they are your local team. A local team is the team that comes from the same city or town that you are from. A final question that you may have when talking about sports is, do you play any sports? When considering your answer to this question, include the name of the sport that you play, how long you have played it, and what level of sport you play at. This final point leads us into our first group of collocations for the video. When describing the level of sport that you play at, we're talking about how competitive the sport is and how competitive your game is. So, first off, you have recreational or amateur sports. This means that you just play the sport for fun. It's not very competitive at all. Second is organized or school sports. This means that you play as part of an official team or you play to represent your school. But you are not necessarily being paid to play at any point. Now, there is also the third level, which is competitive sports. Competitive sports means that, as the name implies, you are very competitive in your game. But you are not quite a professional athlete yet. The final level of sports is professional sports. Professional sports, of course, means that you are being paid and it is your job to play this sport, and it is highly competitive. An example to the question I posed earlier, do you play any sports, could be, yes, I used to play competitive kayak racing in my university. I played for a few years and it was highly competitive. Alright, speaking of some of the sports that we like to play, let's move into a discussion about exercise. Everyone knows that exercise is important for your health. And the question about playing what sport you play is an important conversation starter for when we are discussing exercising. When someone asks you, do you like to exercise? You can always respond with the same answer you provided to the question, do you play any sports? Exercise, however, does not just mean the sports that you play, and there is a lot more that it describes. Exercise can be going for a walk in the park, swimming at a pool, hiking in the mountains, cycling on your bicycle, or working out at the gym. Unlike sports, exercise does not necessarily have to be a competitive game. In fact, when we're referring to exercise, we're normally talking about the less competitive forms of games and sports, whereas with sports, we're normally talking about more competitive games. Basically put, all sports are a form of exercise, but not all exercise is a sport. So hopefully now you have lots of ideas on how to talk about your favorite sports and forms of exercise. I encourage you to do some of your own research at home. Look up some of the various phrases and vocabulary used to describe your favorite sport or form of exercise. And make sure you are practicing talking about your favorite sports at home. Try to talk for at least a minute, if not a little longer, so that you are prepared for any kind of conversation that comes up whenever you're discussing sports or exercise.